Fenderson, certified forensic humorist at large, but I'm losing weight. And welcome to Critical Joke Theory, episode 18, Midterm Election Edition. With the election coming up on Tuesday, the polls are getting tighter. Some of them are so tight, we're going to need some lube, or to paraphrase the line from Jaws, we're going to need a bigger throat. Milwaukee election official Kimberly Zapata was fired after allegedly requesting military ballots for fake voters. The GOP election denier will be charged with the very crime that she claims she wants to prevent. She's using the "Your Honor, I only robbed the bank so that no one else could steal the money" defense. A Philadelphia theft ring that allegedly made millions of dollars from stealing catalytic converters has been busted. They stripped the precious metals and sold them for a hefty profit. Here is a photo of the suspected ringleader. Mars rover Perseverance is about to drop its first sample cache, NASA says. NASA plans to retrieve the samples in 2035. How much cash is going to take to bring those samples back to Earth, NASA can't say. But it's safe to say that we're going to be paying out of the NAS, some astronomical sum, out of this world prices. Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, is home recovering after being attacked by 42-year-old David DePappy. David DePappy attacked Paul Pelosi while in his home. DePappy is one of those QAnon conspiracy theorists who believes in one hammer, one vote. An Evansville cat cafe has temporarily closed its kitty lounge due to a feline illness. Authorities cannot rule out fancy yeast infection. Insert your pussy joke here. Chris Redd was rushed to the hospital after being assaulted by a man in a security uniform outside a comedy cellar. Will Smith is a person of interest. Merrick Garland formally barred the Justice Department from seizing reporters' records, stating who doesn't have music in their record collection that they'd like to keep secret. An Iowa cattle operation was fined for stockpiling manure and for contaminating a creek. They claimed that they were trying to mask the stench of politics in the air. They plan to get rid of the bullshit right after the election is over. Attorney Ron Smith, who fought against the Florida helmet laws, died in a motorcycle crash while not wearing a helmet. Ron Smith and his girlfriend, Brenda Volpe, died while en route to a memorial service for another biker who died while not wearing a helmet. That biker died from cancer. And now for a commercial break. Usually this is where I would point out a broken commercial, but since the midterms is in a few days, I like to point out something else that is broken. It's you. You've been broken down into tribes. Of course, it's not entirely your fault. The human brain has one function, one job. That's it. And that job is to keep you alive. I'm not saying you're worth it, and I'm not saying that your brain is good at it. I'm just saying it just has one job to do. Keep you alive. And part of the way it does that is by eliminating threats to your safety. And there's so much going on in the world that is not a threat to you that your brain has to learn to ignore it. So it develops immediate threats and tertiary threats. Tertiary threats it ignores. And so it just functions most of the time just trying to keep you alive. And it looks for repetition, and it looks for patterns, and it looks for shortcuts. And that's where the think tanks get you. Believe me, the think tanks that create political campaign commercials know this very well. And they have been breaking you down for years. They want you singularly so afraid of one thing that you take your eyes off of the real immediate threat. And the real immediate threat is to our democracy. No matter what your single issue is that keeps you up at night, if we do not have a functioning democracy, all bets are off. It doesn't matter if you're concerned about inflation, or health care, or abortion rights, or crime, or anything. It doesn't matter. Gun violence. It doesn't matter what your issue is. If we do not have a functioning democracy, it doesn't matter. And for those of you who did not vote, or do not vote, because you say things are broken and things don't work, well, that's not true. They are working. They're just not working for you. And it's not working for you because you didn't vote. You know what it's like? You ever have a job? Hopefully you have a job, had a job at one point, or have one now if you want to work. If you want to work, I hope you have a job. And if they have an office party or some kind of gathering, and the food that you like is not there. No. Let's say you're a vegan. As a matter of fact, 5 years ago, if you were a vegan and the office had a party, there was nothing there for you to eat. Almost guarantee it. But what happened? You spoke up. The vegans spoke up and said, we would like more vegan food on the menu. It doesn't have to be all vegan, but just something for us. And you know what? Because they spoke up, they were heard, and they got vegan pizza on the menu. Okay, maybe the budget was cut a little bit, and so there wasn't 90 pounds of pork or beef, because maybe they lost the pork because a Muslim spoke up and says, I don't eat pork. And okay, well, we'll cut back on some of the pork and we'll add more beef. And the vegan speaks up, okay, we'll cut back on some of the beef, we'll add more vegan pizza. The thing is, you have to speak up. And because they spoke up, they got some changes made. It's the same thing in the world of politics. If you don't speak up, you're not getting shit. You know who is speaking up? Corporations. All the fucking time. That's why it took years and years and years, decades, for there to be a warning on cigarette packs that they were killing people. Even though the tobacco companies knew that the cigarettes and smoking cigarettes were killing people. But because they had clout, they had the democracy they wanted. And said they could keep killing you legally. And there was nothing you could do about it. Guns, same way. People wanted responsible gun laws for years, decades, and we couldn't get them. You know why? Because the system was geared to work for corporations. And why? Because the people that were elected to look out for corporations. So, yeah, it was working, just not for you. If you want things to work for you, you have to vote. So, protect our democracy. Protect it against the election deniers. Protect it against the people who won't accept the loss if they lost. You know, do you think the Philadelphia Phillies would love to challenge 2 of those games that they lost? But those weren't the rules. The rules they agreed to play by was the one with the most runs at the end of the game wins. Not the most hits. Not the most errors. Not the most fans in the stands. It's the most runs. In elections, it's the most votes. And if you want your vote counted, get your ass out there and vote. And vote for people who are going to count your votes, not the election deniers. But have it your way. Stay home if you want and complain. Just don't come complain to me because I don't want to hear this shit. You want to be heard, at least by me, and your politicians, vote. Now back to the news. NASA's Hubble telescope captures an image of a ghost in deep space. They are still looking for Jan, Jace, and Blip. China is accused of operating a secret police station in the Netherlands. China claims that it is there to process Chinese licenses and walking violations. Authorities are investigating an Iowa woman's claim that her father, Donald Studi, was a prolific serial killer. Or Lucy Studi wants the police to dig up her yard in hopes of finding her lost keys and wallet. Senator Menendez is under federal criminal investigation for the second time. Donald Trump was heard to say, "Only 2 investigations? Hold my Diet Coke." UK radio host Tim Goff dies while on the air from a suspected heart attack while in the middle of a song. Ironically, the song was not Queen's sheer heart attack. I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist at large. Thank you for watching Critical Joke Theory Episode 18, the midterm election edition. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please share it with someone. And please, get out there and vote. Now be smart, be safe, and don't feed the crazies.